Un, deux, trois. Boom! It's Hot Mike and Jesse Lee. We're back
Rock
in the
on.
studio. Rock on. Cheers
on.
to you, brother. Good to have you back. This is a special Jesse Lee episode because I want to know more about Jesse Lee. I want to know more about your journey. And you are an artist in many ways, but you are very much a musician.
Yes.
And I want to know your journey through music.
Yeah.
And what got you here, influences, whether they are famous or otherwise, personal influences, kind of future music. I'm going to be your soundboard. I'm going to be an active listener and ask you questions. But I want to start out, and I want to honor you by reading you your epitaph.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And whenever I hear Jesse Lee, what I think is, here lies the body of Jesse Lee, lived to the age of 103. For 15 years he kept his virginity. That's not bad for this vicinity.
That is awesome. It's relatively accurate. I think it'll be closer to 83. And I always say, most people's obituaries say he died suddenly at the age of 83, and mine will say he lived, or he died unexpectedly. He lived unexpectedly to the age of 83.
Unexpected. No one thought he'd make it this long.
He really kept going. Well, thank you. Yeah. Hello, I'm Jesse Lee.
Yeah.
And I'd be.
And you're not.
And you're not. I'm Jesse Lee, and you're not, in the words of Chevy Chase. I play for, we'll give you a little general what's going on in the world today with me.
Great.
I've been playing for 15 plus years professionally, and over the last probably 8, it's been primarily country music.
Okay.
And I play with several different bands, some that I write with, some that I just perform with, but it's always, a good show and a good time and good people. And Randy Burkhart Band is one that I've done a lot of work with in the last year. And this current year, Jesse Cornett and the Revolvers that's one of my favorites because the style of it is more on the rock side. And I write in that band. So that's one that's more like actually a lot more of my direct influence. Everything that I do has my influence, my touch on it.
Yeah.
Especially the live shows. I move around a lot. We like to dance and have fun. And so, like with Randy, we've got choreographed dance move times and stuff like that to really bring out the show. And then, of course, Double Wide is a 90s country tribute comedy troupe. So everybody in that band is a caricature of some 90s country persona.
Okay.
I'm Wild Bill Hickhop, which is, so I'm the first country rapper.
Yes.
Which was, in the 90s, it was really kind of like around Kid Rock was what I kind of consider one of the earliest country rappers. He was like rap, rock, and then was transitioning into country.
That's right. Okay.
Now that persona has become a real persona. This Sunday, actually, at the Coast, I've been producing a rapper, Mr. Cuss, for the last 6 to 8 months, and now I'm actually writing on and going to be performing for the first time in a serious sense at a rap show on Sunday.
Exciting.
Yeah, and
Whoa.
then and I have been named. I'm a official nominee of Musician of the Year for Rocky Mountain Country Music Awards of 2022. So I've been nominated by my peers in the group.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that I played in the other bands I play with and the venues and everybody that put me there. I thank you. It's much appreciated, and it's great to feel the love. I've been doing it for a long time, and I try to put on the best show I can.
Yeah.
I'll actually be performing as the house band, part of the house band, that night for at least 3 acts for the people who are coming from out of state and stuff.
Okay.
So it's that's going to be a lot of fun. February 19th.
All right.
At the Civic Center in Greeley, Colorado this year.
All right. Well, I'll make sure this episode is out before then.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But so my whole family are all musical people.
Okay.
Everybody sings. Everybody sang in choir or plays some kind of instrument. My uncle, unbeknownst to me until I was in my later teens, was a singer in a rock band. My mom's oldest brother was a singer in a rock band through the 70s and 80s, the Danger Brothers, out of Wichita, Kansas, and they were relatively successful. They would throw the most insane shows you'd ever seen out in the middle of nowhere. The guitar player, the infamous James Danger, had a farm, his family farm, and so they built a stage. They built all their own speakers. They built some of their own instruments. They and would do just crazy things like, "Hey, who's that guy you know that flies the crop dusting guy? Yeah." Who's obviously out of his head from crop dusting fumes. He's like, "Hey, you think he'll fly that biplane like upside down 10 feet over everybody?" It's like, "Yeah, let's do that." Or, "Hey, let's put 10 pounds of C4 like behind the stage for pyrotechnics and like set it off and knock everybody on their ass." Everybody on stage fell down and like, "Whoa, there's a giant crater back there. All right.
Wow.
I'm glad we put that far enough away from the stage." But
the Danger Brothers.
The Danger Brothers. So,
holy smokes.
Everybody, when I was growing up, I played the glockenspiel for a year, the dulcimer, the violin for a couple years, clarinet, bass clarinet. I never, my mom and everyone in her family were forced to take piano lessons, so she didn't want to force me to take piano lessons. And it's one of the only things that I wished she would have forced me to do,
Yeah.
But you can't look back like that. But I played keyboards later, but completely self-taught.
Okay.
So I never took any lessons. So other than what I learned at school, I never took private lessons ever, or went to school for it until recently.
Okay.
It was all from ear and from feel. And so I when I got into, middle school, about 7th grade, when I went into 8th grade, we moved from San Diego to South Texas. And I kind of moved away from playing all the instruments in the band because maybe want to reinvent myself or see what I could be or figure out what's cool there. That's at the time when everybody wants to be cool. And little did I know, I would have been a lot cooler if I just kept playing music and not worried about being cool.
Yeah.
Although I can't change it. I did theater. I ended up, I skateboarded and did theater and was pretty successful at that.
Okay.
And that is another element to who I am as a performer and musician now is having done a lot of musical theater and stage and a little bit of,
wow, I
indie
didn't
screen
realize
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
What kind of productions were you involved with?
We did all the standard on Golden Pond and Thieves and some Tennessee Williams and some Paul Simon and some Camelot was the big musical we did at the high school. I also participated as in the First Stage Players, not to be confused with the Not for Ready for Primetime Players, which was at the Harbor Playhouse in Corpus Christi, Texas, and we did. I know we did. That was a long time ago now, but one of the musicals we did was the Schoolhouse Rock, and that was very cool, a lot of fun, a lot of song and dance, and actually my brother Johnny was the conductor.
Really?
Conjunction, junction, what's your function? Yeah. But so just a whole lot of that, and then we would travel around and do competitions where it's like 10 minutes of memorized dramatic, humorous, duet, whatever pieces.
Wow.
Did that every weekend for pretty much all of high school. And
no wonder you have such a memory for movie quotes, song lyrics.
Although it's
story structure,
probably the other way around. I think I just already you
already had that.
Yeah,
and that's what made you good at it.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Grow up and all our family reunions. All my entire mom's side of the family are quoting Monty Python word for word. that's another place that I like started to learn comedy is like just watching all that stuff and picking up on the nuances of how they deliver and and what they're saying. But so all of that's added to why I'm such a flamboyant personality on stage. And I have a 20-inch shop fan that blows my hair around like Fabio when I'm up there. Actually putting out shirts this week that have a picture of a fan that says "I'm your biggest fan" and a picture of my pick on it. You know?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, like,
that's good merch.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah,
hell yeah.
That one and the "I mustache you a question."
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm
to
gonna
go
rock.
along with my mustache wax line,
Yes.
Sweet Stash Wax. So I'm building my own merch line now. So a man of many hats.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, Sweet Stash,
Yeah.
the first official sponsor of the Hot Mic Podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't, make sure your stash is on point. Don't let Stank Stash ruin your night either. You know what I mean? You want it to smell good. You want it to look good. A mustache, with great mustache comes great responsibility. So be sure to use Jesse Lee brand Sweet Stash Wax.
What's it look
Available
like?
at all your fine locations right here.
Yes.
Yeah, you can come find it at beautyandthebassist.com. That's what we're starting up. Ashley's got her T-shirt company, and so we're.
Is that live?
Well, that's I think she's just finishing building the website now. So
Okay.
This last couple months has been just coming up with these things and trying to put it together and ready to launch. So we're ready to launch.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so coming to you soon, Beauty and the Bassist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That's awesome. When you were a kid, what was a group or an artist that you were trying to emulate? That you were like, okay, that's somebody either I am like or I could be like.
Yeah. I can tell you that so the first time, I didn't play bass until I was in my early 20s. I played guitar and stuff in high school because that was the only cool instrument you could play. No one's trying to go out with the clarinet player, although they should. They play all the jazz, baby.
Yeah.
But
usually it's just other people in band.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
who are banging you.
Keep with your crew. But
you stick with your own.
I remembered there were influences from every direction. When I was really little, we would go through my parents' cassette tape collection, and that was ranging from Three Dog Night to Charlie Daniels Band,
Okay.
and everything in between. But I'm not sure how old I was when Soul to Squeeze, Red Hot Chili Peppers came out. And that video, such an amazing video, Chris Farley, and, he's running like the sideshow and, the guy, the human cannonball. But when it breaks down into like the heavy part, Flea just does this dance thing. And I was just like, oh my God, like this is like weird step dance thing that he's doing. And I was just like, that guy is the coolest. And that's a sentiment I still hold true to today. He's an amazing bass player.
Yes.
I sometimes will hear people be like, talk down about him. Like, are you kidding? He's one of the best bass players there are.
Yeah.
Like, incidentally, I just, with one of my bands, we were playing with Joy Jackson, which is an all-rock band. So that's like my rock outlet since I've been doing all country.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we play a couple shows a month just to have fun with amazing musicians. And we learned You Ought to Know by Alanis Morissette.
Yeah.
And that's Dave Navarro and Flea who recorded that.
Ooh, no
Who
shit.
recorded the musical parts for that.
Wow, I didn't know that.
They were sent her vocal part, and they just jammed with it for a while, and then went in the studio and laid that down. So I was starting to play it to learn it, and I'm like, why do I want to learn this like note for note? And then I looked it up, and I was like, what's the bass tab for this? And it came up, and it was a picture of Flea and just the bass line isolated, and I was like, what? So I did a little research, and I'm like, that explains it.
They were the studio musicians.
They were the studio musicians for You Ought to Know.
Any other songs on that Jagged Little Pill?
Songs. I just think that one, which was obviously the biggest hit, and the lead off Jagged Little Pill.
So good.
He and I just naturally play. I think of musical riffs the way that he does. So when you're playing bass, you're basically trying to keep it mostly the same, but certain people you don't want to play too much. That's the trick. Overplaying is like, unless you're playing in a jazz show like where it's supposed to be like that, or it's more rudimentary. It's the bass. It's
Yeah.
the basis of things. So sometimes it's even more important the less you play than the more you play. But he plays really great, tasteful licks that are big, and the way that he changes them. So if you get like four, measures to make up a phrase,
Mm-hmm.
the first one he does straight, where he goes up to an octave, and the second one he does where he goes from the root note up to the flatted seventh. It's a minor key or whatever, and then up to the octave. And the third one he goes up and does to the fifth, but an octave above the fifth to the octave. And it's like just the riffs that I naturally would have wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that was from having listened to him for a long time, because I wasn't ever that heavy I never like drilled Red Hot Chili Peppers into my head. I did with like definitely Pearl Jam.
Okay.
And then, after that I got into, that was, I was in my young preteen time at that time. Pearl Jam 10 was actually the first CD that I ever bought. And then after that, around 13, 14, I started getting into punk rock.
Okay.
And I was into like, NoFX is like, that's the other like bass hero of mine.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, the biggest influence to me is Fat Mike, which he would be certainly surprised to hear someone who's a country musician, maybe even upset. But fuck you, Fat Mike. I love you. You don't get to tell me what I'm allowed to play. I'm too punk rock for that. I could play country. I can bring punk rock to country if I want to.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But he is outstanding, crazy bass player who he wrote pretty much everything for their, I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds of songs he's released that I love. All of it. I just love his style, and he's also the lead singer.
Yeah.
So that's another thing when you get the bass player who's a killer bass player who's also a lead singer, and over time has learned to be like a really good singer, and especially for a punk rocker. You know what I mean? The early stuff is like, oh. So I kind of started learning to sing off of how he sang too, and until I learned that it's not an appropriate way to sing, which doesn't matter if you're singing punk rock, but
sure.
You can't translate that type of singing to any other style. You know, you have to learn vocal, but stuff that he did anyway and then put into his singing. He's actually, I think, a really strong singer.
Yeah.
After the 35 years of doing it or whatever, But yeah. NoFX. I love me some NoFX.
I'm embarrassed to say, like, I didn't grow up around the influence of NoFX. So I wasn't aware of them other than their name. Like, I remember the name. I was like, oh, that's cool. I saw it tattooed on people's arms and stuff, and I'm like, holy shit, you're a big fan. I didn't know the band. And when I moved to Fort Collins, the first group of friends that I was with, they're like, hey, I think Mike's coming. Which Mike? And somebody, like, I wasn't there. They let me know, and they were like, Fat Mike. And clearly it was because I'm like a skinny dude. And
tiny,
that became my nickname. So there's a group of people, 20 or so, who just know me as Fat Mike. I almost named the podcast Fat Mike, and then I did a little Google search, and I was like, oh, shit, that's the lead singer. There is a Fat Mike.
And he just started his own podcast now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I feel like, or at least what I saw was that, like, it's every Tuesday, and
awesome.
Fat Mike's Fat Mike.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but... yeah, I think he just like is on like second or third week himself. So
I'm gonna bet he's got more subscribers
already.
Than me.
I mean, well,
let's get you on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Come on, man. Let me in, Mike. Come on, Fat Mike Dude at Fat Mike Dude. That's
so when you is that his Insta? Nice. I gotta check that out.
Yeah.
When you're talking about that era of music, I'm just curious because I'm a huge fan of Faith No More.
Yeah.
Were you a fan of Faith No More and Mike Patton and what he was doing?
I was but not as big of a fan. Like once I got into punk rock, I was like, I didn't listen to anything else. I became a music elitist in the sense of like, this is real. This is underground, and so I kind of put on blinders to a lot of stuff. I was in a little bit of like the late 80s, early 90s. Prior to that time, I was very aware of it and liked that all the stuff that was in that vein, and I was definitely a big fan of like I said, like Pearl Jam and other like the alternative rock stuff that was coming out in the early 90s. I knew I remember my first reference to Faith No More was Bill and Ted. Yeah. I don't know if it's the first one or the second one. It's been a minute since I've watched either, and they bring him out, and it's like from the Faith No More Academy, it's like like from the future, I think, or something. And he's coming back. He's one of the people they studied under when they go into the future, or something. It's been too long since I've watched either of those movies.
That's been way too. Yeah,
but that was like my first like aware reference of who he was, and that was someone that should be paid attention to, just in the same way that I didn't, even with all the classic rock influence and stuff that I had when I was so young, when Wayne's World came out and they go backstage at Alice Cooper, and then I'm like, yeah,
totally,
yeah. Actually, the word Milwaukee is,
and you're like,
it's
well,
Algonquin for the great land. It's like, does this guy know how to party or
what?
Or
what?
Yeah. We're not worthy, but he's also another, just amazing musical influence and stage influence for me.
Yeah.
I loved this, because he really was kind of like punk rock in a proto-punk's time, like, even though he never associated to that. But before punk rock was the punk rock that I listened to, even
you're talking about Cooper?
Yeah, before the hardcore era in the early 80s, he's in the 70s doing stuff that, was as shocking at the time as, what Iggy Pop or G.G. Allen might be doing 10 years later. But
I was listening to 16 the other day.
Yeah.
And I was, was it 18?
18.
I'm
18 and I like it.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm always confused, and I'm 18.
Yeah, I'm not a boy, but I'm not quite a man.
I was 18, not 16. Yeah. Okay.
Lines on my hands and lines on my face. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's, it was like stuff that to the average listener was like, this shit is so dark. What is he talking about? And School's Out, like classic anthem. But he's talking. Yeah, I used to be such a sweet, sweet boy.
Yeah.
Then I got hold of me. And yeah, the deacon at his church punches him in the nose. It's a lot of social commentary, but done in a way that just sounded really dark, and so people said, "Ooh, he is dark." So then he's like, "All right, yeah, I am dark. I'm put dark running mascara and have skeletons on stage and do all this stuff like the Misfits, a punk band that certainly the content, their lyrical content is very dark, and the look is very dark, but the sound of the music is not dark.
Yeah.
To me, it's just like, it's almost like 50s rock with distortion on it. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And then it's the content that makes it really, dark, and why it's subversive and countercultural and therefore punk.
To tie into that, I was listening to Alice Cooper's little radio hour or whatever he was doing. Like, he was doing his thing from his basement or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was at a time, and I can't remember, it was a Coldplay song that was a big hit on the radio. And he was in love with it.
Yeah.
A Coldplay song.
With Coldplay, right.
He's in love with this Coldplay song. And he's like, you need to do it metal, though. He's like, your lyrics are on point, your cadence is on point, like everything is there.
Yeah.
He's like, it just needs to be a little darker.
Yeah.
But like that ties into what you're saying around his sensibility around songwriting, where he's like, it isn't traditional punk, or like he's this guy who kind of walks a line and can kind of,
he could get into any camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is how I always was, basically, once I made that move into South Texas. I came from San Diego, and that was part of a formative thing for me that changed how I interacted with people. Prior to that, I was one of the nerdy kids. I got picked on by punk rockers, whatever. Just because you got a mohawk doesn't make you a punk rocker. If you're an asshole, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
If personally for me, punk rock is about like a social statement, and kind of, you're pissed off that the people that are in power and telling you what you're supposed to do are full of shit, and they're doing things they shouldn't be doing. So you go, well, fuck you then. I'll just tear it all down because it's bullshit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it comes from a place of we should all be better people. You know, it's ironic that so many of us just acted like complete assholes.
That is pure irony.
Yeah,
Like,
just pure irony.
well, isn't that great that the origin is coming from a good place?
I think, yeah,
It's
I
like
think that it is for
genuinely
for most punk rockers.
it's trying to call people on their shit.
Yeah.
And trying to make themselves.
Propaganda was one of my favorites. Is hyper political Canadian like thrash band.
Propaganda.
It's now more like metal, but yeah, that was one of theirs. I'll call you on your shit. You call me on mine. Then we can work together and make this shithole planet better in time. You know, like they're definitely a rather militant band with their ideologies.
What a great band name.
Propaganda.
Propaganda.
Yeah, I love those guys too. Those were some of my absolute favorites.
Were you or are you a fan? I know this goes far back in time, but the MC5.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Kick out the jams, baby.
Kick out the jams, motherfucker.
And then and so that was another. So before I knew of MC5, when I was much younger, Presidents of the United States of America had a cover of that song.
Ah, okay.
Or a version of that song, at least. It wasn't exactly that. But yeah, so that's where I first had heard Kick Out the Jams. And again, that's another thing to talk about how, you know, all over the map that I am with my taste. Because Presidents of the United States of America, although they're like musically kind of like a good hard rockin' band, the content of it is ridiculous on its face.
Yeah.
All of the songs are just like, kitty on my foot and I want to touch it, you know, like telling a song about a cat. Maybe there's some innuendo there, but all the lyrics are about a cat. Or a dune buggy. It's about a spider who has a little tiny dune buggy with all four little rubber band bands. Rocking through the sand and burning up. Little dune buggy in the sand. But so they were kind of considered like a joke band at that time in the 90s. I remember all these people like, you know, I don't listen to like fucking songs about peaches and shit and ninjas and all this, you know. I'm like, I do. I think those guys are great.
I'm listening.
Volcano, you know, and then also like I like Eve 6.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I really thought they were great. You know, the songwriting and sound and everything was really clever and kind of innovative for the time.
Are they still doing stuff?
I know that not too many years ago there was some kind of I think it was the singer of Third Eye Blind got a little pissed off about someone saying that Eve 6 is better and because obviously Third Eye Blind you know, Semi-Charmed Kind of Life or the do 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 performed much better commercially than Eve 6 did. And I remember there was some poster he's like, what would you rather listen to, like the Heart in a Blender song or the Do 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 song? Like, well, personally, the Heart in a Blender song. You know, I would swallow my pride, I would choke on a rhyme, but the lack thereof will leave me empty inside. Swallow my doubt, turn it inside out, find nothing but faith in nothing. Water from a tender, heart in a blender. I'll just spin around to a beautiful oblivion. Rendezvous, then I'm through with you. Yeah, and some of that had to do with that I was coming from Southern California, so it has that SoCal is where my mind stays.
Yeah.
Same with like Everclear. That's the first song I ever sang to someone playing guitar.
Everclear?
Yeah. Swim out past the breakers and watch the world die. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. They were a great band.
Yeah. I was about 12 or 13 years old and then sitting around and sorry, Mom, getting high. And Buddy's like, starts jamming it, and I'm like, all right, I'm singing that, you know. And then
I remember having that
Sublime
CD.
as well was another one like that.
Oh, for sure.
Where
Yeah, Brad Knowles.
I sang every song on that album.
That Everclear album. I remember having it on like a portable CD player.
Oh yeah.
And like a classmate was like
a Discman.
A Discman, exactly. And I didn't, you know what? I didn't have the what is it? The protection,
the
shock
shock
protection.
Absorption,
so you just like move it a little bit. It was just like, oh, it skips for 2 minutes. Yeah. But
it had a little countdown on it. Yeah.
I remember some guy being
catch up.
like, he saw what I was listening to, and he was like, "You like Everqueer?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember being like, "Wait, do they suck?" wait, are they not? Are these guys not queer? And I was like, no, are these guys not cool?
Yeah, correct. You can equate that. You could say that queer is cool.
Queer is cool.
That's right.
That is
Are they
what
not
I am
queer?
saying.
I don't get it. They're not cool.
What I was told, and we'll end it on this, and I'll see if you agree with this, because someone told me the first glimpses of punk was from a song called "Making Time."
Yeah.
And I bet you will know it, recognize it.
What?
And it's from
Because I know I've heard it. When about
The Creation.
When's it from?
And
The Creation.
It's 1967.
67.
Yeah. So this was. I was told that this was the first song that displayed elements of what became modern punk rock.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard that as well?
I have heard that, and I could see that in, like, they were probably an influence of, like, the Clash.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Who were considered early punk, even though that their style, it's like punk is kind of like a relative term in those senses. You know what I mean? Because the Clash is definitely, like, to me, I would consider more like it's like an indie rock band today. But at the time, it's way out in left field, and you might do some wow type of stuff like that, and like just real, like, because it is about just pure passion and about a countercultural viewpoint, and so they're doing some stuff in there that for sure is like the extremely energetic drums.
Yeah.
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 Some stuff that today we would just go, that's just rock and roll. But in those days, it's like, whoa. Well, now you got to look at it compared to what else is popular at that time. The Rolling Stones, Eric Burden and the Animals, like put that next to House of the Rising Sun. You can go, well, I can hear vocal elements that are similar, but the style of the music being played is way different than what most people were doing.
Yeah.
In the same way, I would say that My Generation from The Who is in the same way a punk rock song. And it's exactly what they're saying. Like, people try to put us down talking about my generation just because we get around. We're talking about my generation.
Why don't you all just
fade away doing the stutter thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, is he going to say fuck off? No, fade away.
Fade away. Don't have a damn what we all say. And it's like in that, like, don't have a damn what I say, punk rock kind of sing as well. And, of course, John Entwistle is another of my massive influences.
Yes.
So to wrap up my influences, for bass, you got my absolute favorite would be Fat Mike. Cool. Then I'd put Flea, then John Paul Jones, and John Entwistle, and John Paul Jones and John Entwistle, just because it's so much farther away from my time frame. They're equal and farther in the list. But those are my
and he's
my
from
top
The Who,
four.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
From The Who.
I wanted to clear that.
The Ox, John Entwistle, a.k.a. Thunderfingers, who put piano strings on his bass, and
what
just
the
like
shit.
Yeah, but like in my generation, like
unreal.
He was crazy for his time. He was, I mean, they had a lot of great bands at that time.
To have his skills on the bass, to have Keith Townsend, Keith Moon being just this crazy wild man on the drum kit, and then Roger, who kind of ties it all in together as this beautiful Adonis frontman.
And if I'm lucky, I might, I think is it April, May, or June, the New Orleans Jazz Fest is what they call it, I think it is, or Blues Fest or Jazz Fest. But it's like hundreds of bands every day down in New Orleans. And The Who, it's the only show they're playing all year. And I was supposed to see them the year before COVID, and he got pneumonia or strep or something, blew out his voice, and so they postponed it another year. Then COVID hit, so it's been off for the last 2 years.
Okay.
Now this is the only show they're playing, and it's like, I would love to go see the Who. That's a bucket list thing, and like,
I mean, if you had a time
have
machine, you might go see the Who.
Well, I would definitely see the Who. I'd trample you to see the Who. That was the.
Was that one of their?
Well, they had a show where people like
Got
trampled because they were so excited to come in and see them. Yeah, so I'd trample you to see the Who. It's what James Danger would say.
Well, you know what this was?
This was
the first of many.
Yes,
because we're gonna keep talking about music.
We got to keep doing music.
Yeah. You think we covered it all?
No. We didn't even scratch. We didn't even scratch the surface of punk rock, and that's what 3/4 of this night was.
Yeah,
me talking about my thoughts on punk rock.
Well, that's why we're gonna do it again.
Yeah,
again,
and again. So it's a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a boom.
It's Hot Mike
and Jesse Lee. Rock
all
on.
right. Have a good night. Peace out.